Hello, dear students. I hope that you are doing well at home. I hope that you are taking care of yourselves and your parents, that you're using your masks when you're out as well. And today we're gonna have a lesson about your book. Okay, so I'm talking about your English book, and I want you to open your books at page 20. Okay, so page 20, it's going to be the first page of your unity number 2. So we're going to come back just a little bit to work with the text and a little bit with vocabulary as well. Okay, so are you ready? So page 20, you're going to start with the reading comprehension part. Right here you have a conversation between a teacher and a couple of students. So it's a conversation between Mr. Philbos and Lucy and Kevin. So I'm going to read the conversation for you actually. So you can use your book actually, or the video as well. So it's up to you. But keep in mind that you're going to have to solve some exercises here as well. Okay, so Mr. Philbos started the conversation just like this. Good morning, guys. Are you ready to start? Good morning, Mr. Philbos. Yes, we are anxious to have laboratory lessons. It's our first year. Then today we will study the life of some microbes, the smallest living things. So what scientific instrument do you think we will need? Kevin says, we will need the microscope. Mr. Philbos answers, you're right, Kevin, the microscope. But we will need something more. Please, give us a clue, Mr. Philbos. Okay, it's an instrument which is transparent and is made of glass. That's easy. It's the slide. Correct, Lucy. Take a look at this. Or take a look at it. Oh, I didn't notice you were holding it. One more question to start. Can you name a famous scientist, chemist, biologist, or physicist? I am not sure. But can I say Albert Einstein? Of course you can. He's a famous physicist. Tell me, what is Einstein so famous for? He is the person who invented the theory of relativity and also many other important things. That's absolutely right. So, in the laboratory lessons we will study, and then Mr. Philbos continues with the lesson. And we start with our check it out part. Alright, students, so what is important here for you to know? Since we are solving those exercises together, it's important for you to pause the video. Okay, so as soon as I explain the exercise, as soon as you get to know what it is necessary to be done for these exercises, it's a good idea for you to pause the video, solve the exercise by yourself, so do the exercise by yourself, and then you're gonna play the video again for the correction, okay? So, in this exercise here, check it out, we have put the sentences below in order, number from 1 to 7. So we need to understand the text, okay? Everything that is you see happening over there during that chemist lesson, in order to put the sentences into the correct order. So we have here the sentences just like this. So number 1, Lucy says that they are going to use the slide. The teacher asks for an example of a famous scientist. Lucy says this is the first year the students will have laboratory lessons. Kevin says they are going to use the microscope. Mr. Philbos shows the slide to the class. The teacher tells the class what they are going to study. And Lucy cites Albert Einstein as an important physicist. So now you need to think about the order of these sentences. If you want to pause the video, you can do that. Now talking about our correction right away of this check it out exercise number 1. Sentence number 1 according to the order. Lucy says this is the first year the students will have laboratory lessons. Sentence number 2. The teacher tells the class what they are going to study. Number 3. Kevin says they are going to use the microscope. Number 4, Lucy says they are going to use the slide. Number 5, Mr. Philbos shows the slide to the class. Number 6, the teacher asks for an example of a famous scientist. And number 7, the last one, Lucy cites Albert Einstein as an important physicist. So the order we're going to have is going to be 4, 6, 1, 3, 5, 2, and the last one, 7. Now talking about our exercise number 2 from the same page. So in this exercise here, we have to complete the gaps. When I say gaps, I want to say the spaces, okay? So the empty lines that you have in the text, okay? Specifically here, we don't have a text, we have sentences. So we need to use words from the text, okay? So we need to understand the context of the sentence in order to decide the right word, all right? Right here we start just like this. So or a is a which is so small that you can't see it without or a. So I'm talking about special words from the text here just to remind you of that. B, to visualize a microbe, you have to put it on a specific answer. A slide is an which is transparent and made of. Letter D, was a famous who? The theory of relativity. Letter E, a is an expert who studies or works in one of the sciences, physics, chemistry, etc. Now talking about the correction of the same exercise, just to remind you that you should pause the video for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes to solve the exercise. Letter A microbe is a living thing which is so small that you can't see it without a microscope. B, to visualize a microbe, you have to put it on a slide. A slide is an instrument which is transparent and made of glass. Albert Einstein was a famous physicist who invented the theory of relativity. A scientist is an expert who studies or works in one of the sciences, physics, chemistry, etc. Now we talk about our next exercise here, in which we have to match the columns. So whenever you have an exercise in which you have to match the columns, you are looking for the same idea, okay? So in this exercise here specifically, we're gonna have here some verbs and expressions, and then the other column, we're gonna have the meaning of those words, verbs, and expressions, okay? So it's a very simple exercise actually. The first column, you're gonna have a clue, to notice, to hold something, to be ready, and to be anxious. The other column, we're gonna have to realize something, to want something very much, to be prepared, to take and keep something in your hand, a piece of information that helps you understand something. Just to remind you once again, the necessity of pausing the video. And now we're going to have the correction of the same exercise. So what is a clue actually? A clue is a piece of information that helps you understand something. So it's just like a tip, okay? So something that helps you to understand. To notice. Notice as a verb, to realize something. To notice is to realize something. To hold something, to hold, what are we gonna have here? To take and keep something in your hand, to hold something with your hand. To be ready, to be prepared. So to be ready is just like to be prepared. To be anxious. So what we're gonna have here, the last option is to want something very much. So this is to be anxious. That was the correction of our exercise number 3, in which you had to match the columns. Now we're going to have a very simple exercise, which is exercise number 4, and you're going to have here only 3 items to be done, and it's a true or false exercise, so you're going to have only 2 options here to answer this exercise. So it's true, T for true, or F for false. The students have lessons in the morning. Mr. Philbos starts the conversation. Good morning. So I think this is true. The teacher is a woman. I don't think so. It's a man, so it's false. They are in the classroom. I don't think so. I think they are in the lab or laboratory, so it's false. Those were the exercises of our page 21. Now we're gonna start working with our page 22. So right here, guys, we're gonna have specific vocabulary, and we are talking about science. More specifically, we are talking about chemistry, okay? So what are we gonna have here? The specific vocabulary that we're going to work with is the following words: test tube, flask, graduated cylinder, funnel, magnifying glass, and periodic table. And then you're gonna have here letters from A to F. So the only thing you have to do here is to name those objects, okay, from the laboratory using the specific vocabulary here. So maybe you're gonna need just like 5 minutes to do this. So once again, you can pause the video if you want to. Now I'm gonna have the correction and letter A actually, right? So the picture number 1 here, gonna have a funnel. What about B? It's a magnifying glass, okay? So pay attention to the correct pronunciation, magnifying glass. And what about the letter C? It's a test tube. So it's a test tube. And D, it's a flask. Okay, it's not a glass, but it's a flask. It's a very specific glass for laboratories. Next one, we're gonna have here graduated cylinder. So graduated cylinder. And the last one, which is going to be the periodic table. Easy exercise, this one, so no problems to do this kind of exercise, which is very easy for everybody. So now we're gonna start talking about the description of those specific objects from the laboratory. So we're gonna have here a short sentence, which is going to be the description for the object, okay? So I will read this exercise for you before. So what I'm gonna have here, match each object to the respective description. So sentence number 1, a glass tube used in experiments and also to collect blood. A container for collecting liquids. A glass cylinder with lines in the outside which show how much it contains. An object used for pouring liquids into containers. An object which makes things look larger than they are. A list of all the chemical elements with an atomic number. So those are the descriptions you're going to need. And now you need to come back to exercise number 1 to use the letters, okay? Now we're going to have the correction of this same exercise. So talking about our sentence number 1, a glass tube used in experiments and also to collect blood. We're talking about a test tube. That's going to be a letter C. A container for collecting liquids. We're talking about a flask. So flask, which is letter D. A glass cylinder with lines in the outside which show how much it contains. We're talking about a graduated cylinder, which is letter E. An object used for pouring liquids into containers. We are talking about funnel. That's going to be a letter A. An object which makes things look larger than they are. We are talking about a magnifying glass, which is our letter B. A list of all the chemical elements with an atomic number. We're talking about the periodic table, which is our letter F. Now we have our last exercise of page 22, and we have to complete the chart below using words you saw in this chapter. So words that you saw in this chapter. We are talking about specific vocabulary, and in this chapter we have vocabulary about laboratory instruments. We start just like this. So it's scientific, atom, microscopic, physics, and biology. So we are going to think about similar words, okay, to these ones here. So scientific, a similar word for this one is science. Atom, a similar word for this is atomic. Microscopic, a similar word is microscope, the instrument. Physics, an instrument, what do we have here? No, it's a science, so it's physics. We have a profession, physicist, it's a profession. Biology, we once again have a profession because it's not an instrument, it's a science. And the professional is the biologist, okay? So, physics, physicist. Biology, biologist. Okay, so here for these two last words, which are sciences, we're going to have professions. Now talking about the first exercise of our page 23, we're going to have here technology, okay? So in this exercise here, we're going to think about the objects that are modern and the objects that are old, okay? So modern objects and old objects, all right? So the specific words that we have here are telephone, DVD player, MP3 player, overhead projector, Discman, interactive whiteboard, video cassette recorder, and a cordless phone, data projector, and a blackboard, okay? So those are the specific objects that we are going to talk about. So talking about our picture number 1, what can you see here? This is for you, it's a blackboard, okay? It's a blackboard. And a blackboard, in your opinion, is considered to be an old or modern object. And it's an old object, right? And on the other hand, you're gonna have another photo here, another picture. It's a boy and he's touching the board, right? He's touching. And it's a smart board, okay? Interactive whiteboard or smart board. And for sure, that's a modern object. And then we're going to have more two pictures here. It's a DVD player. So DVD player for you, it's a modern or old object. Actually, we don't use DVD players anymore, right? So some people may say that DVD players are something from the past. So, but the book says it's modern one, right? So it's considered to be a modern object because the video cassette recorder is considered to be an old object, okay? So we are going to consider the DVD player as a modern object in contrast, okay, in contrast with the video cassette recorder, all right? So we have this contrast here. So the video cassette recorder and the DVD player. After that, we're going to have the overhead projector. So overhead projector is definitely an old object because the data projector is something new, okay? So we're still using that, right? So I'm pretty sure it is considered to be something modern, okay, new. After that, we're going to have a Discman and MP3 player. So which of them is old? Discman is old and MP3 player is something modern for us, right? So it's something new, although we are not using that anymore, right? So we have smartphones. So yeah, why an MP3 player? Why a MP3 player? Because we have smartphones, so we don't need them anymore. Cordless phone and telephone. Cordless phone is actually, it was something modern, okay, a long time ago. But a telephone, okay, is something old, okay. So in contrast, once again, the cordless phone and the telephone, okay. So we're gonna have this contrast here. Now we're gonna have the last part of this page and the last part of this video lesson as well, in which we talk about exercise number 1, entitled here at home. Okay, so the title of this exercise is at home, and we have to complete the sentences with the appropriate object according to the list of the previous exercise. So which are the options here? The options are the words from exercise number 4, okay, of our page 23 and part of the page 24. So I'm gonna do that exercise with you actually, okay? So you don't have to pause the video now because we can do this exercise together, right? So I love mine because it's light and small, people can't see I am using it. So what? Discman or MP3 player? Obviously it's the MP3 player because it's smaller, right? So you can hide that. Do you know do you know you can listen to music on MP3 player in a DVD player? Yeah, very well. So we can do that as well. So if you have a DVD, you can do that. I believe the will always be useful for teachers. Blackboard. So I believe the blackboard will always be useful for teachers. Okay, so we're gonna have here the answer of letter C. D. I have a cordless phone. So I always walk around the house when I'm on the phone because you have a cordless phone, which was a long time ago something modern, not anymore. Nowadays, it is hard to find it takes lots of batteries. We're talking about a Discman, okay? So it's a Discman. So it takes it takes lots of batteries or a lot of, okay, batteries. Sandra has to give a presentation. She will need a data projector to show it on a screen. Overhead projectors and video cassette recorders are practically obsolete, okay? But in many schools they are still used. I know that using the internet is cheaper, but I still prefer the telephone, okay? Very well. And finally, the last exercise of this page, which is exercise number 2, in which we have to complete the sentences again. So with specific vocabulary from the first part of this chapter here, okay? So N is the smallest unity of any chemical element. I'm talking about the atom. You have to use the microscope to see the living things, okay? So what are we talking about here actually? The smallest, okay? So we're talking about the microscopic living things. In the laboratory, scientists make their scientific experiments. Like Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton is a very famous physicist, okay? So physicist. This subject studies the life of plants and animals. We're talking about biology. So that was the correction of all exercises from pages 20, 21, 22, 3 and 4. So I hope you could follow the correction or at least pause the video and do the exercises by yourself, right? So I hope that you could do that. And I hope to see you soon for another video lesson using our English book, okay? So thank you very much for your attention here, and remember to take a photo of those pages and send those photos for me on Microsoft Teams, okay? So you're gonna use that platform to show me the result of your work. So thank you very much and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.